Me and Drake, you gonna have to see and wait. Make do I eat a date.
Yo, what's going on? What's the word? We're about to get into a review with the rap nerd. It's Kudagani over here, and I'm about to deliver what I hope will become one of many rap album reviews. And today I'm going to review an album that I've been waiting to review for a long time, and that is No Pressure by Logic. And if you're not familiar with who Logic is an MC from Maryland who got his breakout album with the album Under Pressure in 2014, which basically got a lot of mainstream attention. And he has been quite prolific in his treatments and in the way he has charted his career on Def Jam Records. The challenge with Logic is that his albums have been quite uneven, and while he did get a great deal of commercial and critical success with his first few albums, especially Under Pressure and The Incredible True Story, we've seen Logic has not quite been able to keep it consistent with the critically acclaimed albums that would follow later on in his career. He has had the messy Everybody. He's had Supermarkets, which was a disorientated mess of a pop rock album, which was accompanied by a novel that nobody asked for. And then there were the middling Bobby Tarantino tapes and Young Sinatra 4. But here Logic is announcing that with No Pressure, he is retiring. And what I find interesting is that when it comes to this, while Logic is not nearly anywhere in the same tier as Jay-Z as a rapper in terms of status, in terms of chronology and catalog, he is roundabout at the same place that Jay-Z was when Jay-Z announced his retirement. The Black Album was Jay-Z's 8th album, and No Pressure is Logic's 9th album. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics to look into over there. And on this album, Logic taps the legendary No ID, who I believe is the MVP of this entire project. And I say that to say that everything that Logic and No ID wanted to accomplish with this album, I would say that they have at the very least delivered on a lot of it. You've got songs on the album such as the crisp boom bappy intro called No Pressure, and it calls back to his distant memories. There's a lot of 8 Mile references, as you would expect from a Logic record. On songs like Hit My Line, which is quite derivative, but doesn't really sound bad in and of itself. You hear Logic start off the track by saying, "I'm not saying this is my Jesus Walks," which I find quite hilarious because Logic proudly wears his influences on his sleeve. But he always says, "I'm not trying to say that this is my version of that rapper's big track." But I feel like there is an inference that he wants us to see it just that way. GP4 has a very interesting hook that reminds me of Outkast's Elevator, and a very nice Erykah Badu reference over there. Celebration for me is the best track on the album. So much of a Ye influence on this, and you've got the incredible No ID beats on this. And then there's 2 sets of double tracks, which is Open Mic Aquarius 3, which is track 5, which samples the same sample as Kendrick Lamar's The Heart Part 2, and has lyrics from a song he released in November called OCD, which just kind of had me in 2 minds because I thought the sample flip was quite nice, but because it's the same sample that Kendrick Lamar used on The Heart Part 2, it feels derivative, and I'm like, OCD was such a nice track. Why couldn't it be added onto this album? But that aside, you had Soul Food 2 as well. 6 has an amazing beat on this, and he's back on his sci-fi fiction storyline metaphors tip, which is a very useful instrument for Logic, and I think he could do well to go into that a bit more often, because when he tries to speak on serious, weighty issues from an intellectual level, I don't know if he's really done the work intellectually to understand the topics that he touches on in his music. But I think his fascination with sci-fi and comics and things of that nature might be a useful device to advance any messages that he might have. Then you've got other tracks such as Dad Bod, where he talks about the fact that he's not interested in rap anymore and is much more interested in fatherhood. You've got Five Hooks, which I thought had an incredible display of Logic's use of the MPC drum machine. And then the album pretty much tapers off between track 11, Dark Place, and Obediently Yours, which basically has a recording of somebody speaking about things like social justice and race relations, but not really anything that we've never heard before. Overall, I give this album a 6 out of 10. It's certainly not as bad as Confessions of a Dangerous Mind or Supermarket or any of the recent Logic albums that just seem to have missed the mark. And I think bringing No ID onto the team to streamline things and to kind of guide Logic's energy is really seen in the production of this album and in the lyrical content, and in the creative direction that Logic has taken. I think he retires with an album that isn't mind-blowingly amazing, but is something that he can be proud of. And that said, I don't necessarily think that Logic is retiring. I think he might take a break, and we'll probably see him come back and peep in with some guest features on the tracks of younger artists such as YBN Corday or JID, because we know rappers lie about retirement. Jay-Z lied about it, Eminem lied about it, and I'm sure Logic is going to be back pretty soon. Let me know what you thought of this album. Let's start the debate. I'm always good for conversations, and I hope that you liked the review. Thank you for watching. Peace out.